Hello and welcome to another beautiful night with the American Richie Mahjong League. I am Ennui, sometimes and rarely known as Tucker, and I am joined tonight by our very famous broadcast director, Nathaniel. How are you feeling, Nathaniel?
I'm feeling great and looking forward to finishing out this A1 table. These are the final two matches of A1 Table 4 with Max and Simon, Arthur, and who is Korak, and DeLong, who is currently in second place overall in the standings and is attempting the daunting task of catching loose in first place.
It'll take two massive games here. Can't accept the Dora Tuso into this starting hand. Simon can, so.
Yeah, not bad for
But
Simon. But yeah, for DeLong, you'd almost need a couple Yakumons, but we
oh yeah,
just saw Yakuman earlier today in the B1 match that was not broadcasted.
yeah,
Fantastic
a
Suanko by Pio.
Suanko.
So just a hint that it is possible there are worlds where these massive scores can come in. We'll see if DeLong can pull it off. Currently,
Yeah,
though,
and
you
I don't know when the last time you and I streamed together, Nathaniel, was, but it always feels like the last time we streamed together, we saw Luce get a Chinroto, just because that was such an insane thing to see.
that was truly an incredible moment. And
Oh God, Zilong's hand coming together
it
across
looks
the table. That's a beautiful hand.
absolutely gorgeous. Has a Dora already. Tanyao Pinfu chances as well. So looking like a Mongon is going to happen there. And five. So actually not the most useful of tiles because you think about making Ninipeko in the Sozu, but you really want to keep that Dora as well.
It does make this hand Ishanten, which is of course helpful.
Absolutely. Yeah, and there's a
Do you
world where you can make Nipeko anyway by discarding the 5 pin, and Zilong has found that route.
what do you think Korak is going to be building for on the right there?
Yeah, that looks really awkward. Perhaps just go vertical and make a Sananko.
Ooh, that does seem like something Korak would do. Korak is very conscious of options and especially of very small things that other players miss, like Fu, which in this case,
Yeet.
a San Anko could have a significant effect on Fu. Although our first Ricci is on the left for Ricci Pinfu Dora 1, Yoshi waiting on 1 Mon 4 Mon. That seems like a really good wait, at least from Yoshi's perspective. Although we can see 5 tiles are out right now, the 3 that are in the wall are all 1 Mon, which of course are easier to come out than the 4 Mon.
Zilong here thinking about calling this 3 pin
Gee,
into Tempai and
And
drop the
takes
3
it.
so and make a 4-7 weight. Drops a 6 instead, same weight. 6, I guess, because it's half Suji to the 9 so, and also it's farther away from the Dora tile, so probably a little bit safer. Turns out both would have passed. Pushes the dangerous 5 Mon as well, so DeLong is going for it here. Just a matter, where is that 1 Mon?
I think the 2 so being Suji to the 5 so helps with the push here.
The other thing that we didn't mention about Max's hand is it was so close to being Sanshoku and Tanyao as well.
Oh yeah.
I'm sure there was some consideration while the hand was being constructed about whether or not to just reach the second you get Tempai or to try to hold off and build for a little bit more value. But in this case, I think just taking the instant reach is absolutely correct. And
Sumo.
there's the
Oh,
Tsumo.
and there it is. Riichi Sumo Kenfudora.
Ooh!
And Tuura! Yoshi gets the Hanuman in East 1. What a great start for LPY there.
Yeah, Max has been struggling a little bit as late. Not really his own fault, just the tile's not going his way. Well, this time the wall certainly helping him. The 2 Uda to make that a Hanuman in first place now with 42,000. Definitely the perfect start. Korak, now the dealer, has a reasonable high pie. You kind of want to make Itsu in the Sozu, but your tiles are coming together in other places. Maybe even think about something like a 678 Sanshoku now.
I'm sure that's why Korak kept the 7 pin.
Yeah, still holding out hope that that will come together. And actually, interesting, we saw an early Dora discard to the left from Simon, despite the Anko of Hatsu in hand. That was the first Dora that was drawn, and it was immediately discarded. A lot of times you can end up using that Dora as a pair, but perhaps considering the fact that the 5-so was already acting as a pair in his hand, decided to just play this efficiently.
There also were comments earlier in the Discord about A1's attitude towards cons compared to, say, B3. And we see that first Hatsu come out, and there's no hesitation from Simon. Like, almost, like, I don't think Simon has calls off because there was a very slight hiccup when the Hatsu was discarded, but Simon very quickly declined the Hatsu con there. Did not really consider it as a serious option.
Yeah, as a diving con, probably not. You don't really need to open your hand here when you don't have to. Oh, but there's the Riichi for the Itsu. Korak did manage to put it together, so waiting for the 2-so. There is one in hand across the table, but that means 3 in the wall to be drawn. And so doesn't look like the expensive suit here. There was an early 1-so Tsumukiri after a 6-so, so we might see some pushing.
Tenpai for Zalong waiting on the 4-so. Oh! And we also have Tenpai for Yoshi waiting on 7-mon, but Zalong gets the Tonki Sumo!
Just pick the right Tonki, and would you believe it wasn't the Sanzo? Discarded the Sanzo so that as bait for Max to call, so that you would draw the right tile.
Well, if you're playing against Korak, you know the Sanzo way isn't going to work if Korak's called Riichi. If the Sanzo's a good tile, Korak wants it. So you might as well choose something else.
Well, Zalong now dealer after that nice pickup, stealing away Korak's dealership. In second place now in over 30k, has the Hatsu pair, a chance to accept the Dora 1-pin as well, and good shapes outside of this. So with some nice draws, could be able to find a Riichi. And if he wants, can also just consider calling the Hatsu and just aiming for a dealer repeat. Looking around.
Yoshi has the pair of Chun on the right, could also call Yakuhai, but Yoshi has the benefit of having 2 of the Dora 1-pin that you mentioned. So probably a little more inclined to speed this hand up.
Absolutely.
Oh, but there's the Hatsu call.
Yeah, especially now that the Hatsu's been called, you definitely want to be able to match the speed of the dealer. Toyman.
Ooh.
Yeah, keeping all the nice blocks in hand with that 2-pin discard, and also the relatively nice 7-mon floater. And there's the Chun. There's the instant call from Max. Dian Shantan now. There's a world where this actually becomes Toy.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's 4 other pairs in hand.
Well, maybe forget that. We draw the 5-pin. We'll go back to a normal hand there, but you can still call the pawn on the 1-pin for Tenpai.
Yeah, Yoshi kind of famous for evangelizing the idea of calling fast in tournament play, where cheap hands are a little bit more valuable than they are in ladder. Although Yoshi's hand right now not at all cheap.
Yeah, at the very least 3,900, but could even become Mangan. We see 1 door in the hand to the left. That's not going anywhere. In fact, that hand is Ishanten already. It's Korak aiming to steal Zalong's dealership with a Riichi.
That was such a sentence you just said. That hand, in fact, not going anywhere. It's Ishanten already. Like, that just seems like an oxymoron, the way you put those things together.
Well, at any rate, Korak holding onto the safe east, and there's the Tenpai call. Awkward 6-pin. Yeah, we can see where they are.
There's so many ways to improve this, though. Like, imagine a 4-pin draw for Zalong.
Would be amazing. Get that nice 3-6-5-pin weight.
8-so Tenpai for Yoshi.
And Max finding a way to get to call into Tenpai here.
2 more 8-so in the wall.
Versus only 1 6-pin in the wall. Max with a little bit of an advantage here, both in value and in number of winning tiles remaining to be drawn. 3 pins. Close to the Dora. Feels bad to discard when 2 players have called twice.
It is entirely safe against Yoshi, but not safe against Dealer, who you're probably more concerned about at this point.
Korak decides to Mawashi a little bit. Finds Ishanten again. And now Tenpai.
There's Tenpai.
How bad do you feel about this 3-pin? 7-mon's probably okay.
Yeah, I feel fine about discarding 7-mon.
Oh, it does push the 3. Okay.
7-mon was totally safe against Dealer, and I mean, it doesn't feel bad at all against Yoshi, honestly.
Zolong has to think about, or sorry, yeah, think about switching to the better weight. The 3-pin that just came out, one turn too soon for the Roan here. And it looks like we're heading to Ryukyoku. Everyone maintaining their tempi. We'll have one more draw. Oh, the 2-pin's not good, but the 5 just came out, so we will see it pushed. And 3 players tempi. Simon will pay out the 3,000. We'll go again.
Ooh, Hatsu Chun.
And a
Both
completed
in
run.
Zolong's hand.
This is looking quite good for another dealer continuance. No Dora, though. Looking around the table, I see 2 Dora in Toyman's hand. Simon, who really could use some points here. Outside of the Dora and some Tanyao blocks, the other shapes are a little awkward, so this might just be a Tanyao Dora 2 or 3 across the table. Does anything else look good?
Not as good. I mean, these are hands, both Korak and LPY's hands. Like, they would be generically okay hands, but not against what Simon and Zolong have.
Yeah, I agree. And Zolong here, Shanten, after that one call, would really love to see the tune.
I almost would have just carded 3-so there. The 1-so and the 9-so are so callable.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, a middle Nobeton, like 4, 5, 6, 7, is so easy to draw into. But now we have the 1-so Pong into the 9-so Chun Tempai. This is Hatsu Nomi, although if you win on the Chun, you do get a second Han, of course.
Yeah, there should be enough Fu here to make it 40. So
regardless of the win, it will be 40 Fu, since the 9-so and the Chun are equal as far as Fu is concerned.
Well, here's the Chun. Korak doesn't like it. Discards away from the 9-pin pair. Okay.
Yeah, we talk a lot about Korak's aggressiveness, like Korak's ability to go after expensive hands. Korak has a very good defensive sense as well.
Well, look at
and
this.
That leads to Simon Sumo.
Now, Simon actually had a choice earlier, had drawn into Ishan 10, but had to discard one of the pairs. And so the choice was, do you keep the Haku pair for Haku Dora 2 or 3, or do you go for Tanyao? Chose to discard the Haku pair, drew into the Tanyao Tempai, and then sumoed on the Dora for the Mangan. Great hand by Simon.
It'll be interesting to see if LPY goes for Kogashi here. This hand is not completely dead, but there are 8 distinct terminals and honors right from the get-go. So Yoshi probably just letting things play out how they will at this point.
Yeah, now that
looks like shifting towards Honitsu a little bit.
Especially since you've paired up the East. Even though it's once cut, that is double Yakuhai. And I might even consider...
Twice cut. You can't
you're right. I missed the... There's only been a few discards, but I did miss one of them. So yeah, in that case, it is a little bit tricky and Honitsu might need to be the play. To the right, that looks like just a Tanyao. To the left, there is... across the table, there's a Dora in hand and maybe Ipeko chance, but some really awkward shapes. You might even be thinking about, like, how close is Junjan here? Or Sanshoku, like, just trying to find anything. Even 3 pairs towards a Chitoi. Yeah, that's a little bit difficult to put together. And the hand on the left looks actually really nice for Pinfu, maybe even Tanyao and Ipeko. Still holding on to this Dora, just in case that can be used in some fashion. But likely to be discarded even here.
Yeah. Once you reach Ishan 10, you don't really need the Dora anymore.
So it looks like it's going to be Riichi Pinfu for Zolong, pending Tanyao is pending, depending on the 6-pin or not.
Yeah, it does look like Menton Pin, in fact. Menton Pin, for those who do not know, because it took me forever to figure this out, Menton Pin is a closed Tanyao Pinfu. So like you're playing with the idea that you will sumo a Pinfu with all simples. That is, when people say Menton Pin, that is what they mean.
Yeah, this was an interesting choice for Zolong here. Chose the opportunity to lock in this Ipeko, and we see a Tempai on the right for Simon. Just this Tanyao Nomi On the 4-7,
Or so,
oh,
yeah.
it just
And
draws it.
gets it.
相撲
A very fast hand kills Max's dealership. Max still in pretty good standing here after 4 rounds. We're into South 1. Simon's dealership again. Has the South pair. Not much else to go along with this. Oh,
Well,
in terms of value, but the shapes are very good.
Yeah, I was
gonna say,
say
Yamen. Very, very good. And door acceptance as well, but I was looking for something like a pair of door, and that isn't in hand. The pair of doors to the right.
Yeah, and as Garrick, no, not Garrick. This is Andrew. Andrew has mentioned in the chat. And this is something I was thinking about just a second ago. Like, whenever you think of high quality players, you tend to think those are the people that are going to be able to make really big hands.
1
But what you see a lot in A1 is you make the big hands when you have to and when you have the ability to. But one of the things that really sets the players in A1 apart,
1
especially like really well-known players like Korak and Yoshi here, both of whom are ubiquitous in the community. We see that North Con from Yoshi, which, you know, like, you see a con in other leagues and you're like, was that a good idea? But you see it in A1 and you're like, well, that must have been right. Let's figure out why. Like, these players know when to play fast. Sometimes you have to accept the one-on hand because that is in fact your best defense. No matter what else you have. Like, the easiest way to stop someone else winning is to win yourself. And that is why Yoshi especially tends to go for open hands in this sort of setting where red fives are not an option.
We'll see if this con punishes, as we do have a Ricci across the table from Delong here for Ricci, Pinfu, Dora 1, potential Sanshoku or another Dora.
Yeah, Sanshoku on the 8 so.
And Dora on the 5 so. So this is a monster hand. And after calling, Max here in a little bit of trouble. There is an 8 so drawn.
Korak's hand isn't worth pushing. Like, Korak's not going to deal into this unless his hand demands he do so.
Yeah,
which currently it does not.
The real danger here is Max, whose only route out of trouble might just be to press forward with his own hand.
I imagine the 7-mon will come out.
Oh, the 8 did.
No, but the 8 so does come out of Korak's hand.
If you look at the discard pool, the Sozu did look cheaper. No Ura, so saved from dealing into Hanuman here is Korak, but that does put him on the back foot moving forward.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Dora, I always treat Dora Suji as if it is Dora. Like, when 5 so is Dora, 8 so is equally dangerous as far as I am concerned.
Yeah, it was definitely a difficult situation for both Korak and Max. And, well, Delong, the beneficiary of 8,000 points there. And now it's Korak's turn to come back here.
Ishantin already.
Tough choice, though. You want the door acceptance, but all your good shapes are in the pin. We'll hedge a little bit. So starting with a 7, you can still draw the Dora and shift back. I mean, there's a world where you get Sanshoku too. And also the pin shapes are overlapping, which makes them a tiny bit worse. But I think you have to take the better quality shape. And that's exactly what Korak is doing here. To the right. That hand is approaching something that looks good. The awkward shape is the 8-9 Penchon.
Oh, there's the...
Oh, that's the absolute worst. You're just looking at your hand thinking, I could be Tenpai with Ricci, Pinfu, Dora 1. And yet here we are. Yeah, that was a really tough choice to make early on.
I wish we had, like, the way in, like, NFL, they have, not cameras, microphones on the players that you can, like, sometimes hear the players talking about stuff. I wish we had one of those on Korak, because that so draw would have been a perfect one.
I'm not sure we would have been able to broadcast that. I think Korak would say the same if he were here. But Max across the table now drawing lots of pairs, up to 5 now, right? This is Tanyao, Chitoi, Dora 2 Ishanten?
And that 4-pin discard is very clever. It allows you to kind of pursue both the regular hand and the Chitoi, although the Monzu almost demand the Chitoi.
They're
The
so
4 mana
separated.
are so far apart, yeah. And that 6-pin discard kind of puts on blast that Max is going for the Chitoi.
This is so unfortunate for Korak now. This is the first pin tile that was drawn since making that early choice, and it's absolutely useless. Where are the 5-8? Where are the 2s? Where's the 7? They're all in other hands. Hasn't even been able to upgrade the Mon tiles to get out of this, this 1 Mon, and I'm sure he wants to convert this to a Tanyao. Just to be able to call.
I don't know when the last time we defined perfect Ishanten was on a stream, but for those who are not familiar, perfect Ishanten is when you have a pair, a Ryanman, which is a side weight, so like that 3-4 pin in Korak's hand, waiting on 2-pin or 5-pin, and then a combination Ryanman and pair, like that 6-7-7 pin. And there we go. There's the Ryanman fill.
It guarantees a good weight, and we do have a 2-sided here. Unfortunately, there's only 1 tile remaining in the wall to be drawn, and that's a 5-pin. But finally, at least you've gotten Tenpai. You needed something to go your way.
Yeah, as dealer, you don't hate the late Ricci, and there's the last 5-pin.
Max trying to make Suanko Tenpai before we run out of tiles?
Max
could get
has
Tenpai
one more
and nothing
draw.
else.
Yeah, unless you call. If you call, you can get Tenpai.
Oh, this 8 could come out. It does. I think we're calling, right?
You've got a pawn, right?
I mean, Max is in first.
Surely.
Don't want to deal into fourth. You have to clear either the 6 mana or the 4 mana, and neither looks safe. Doing some computations, checking the other mons. Oh, just draw it!
Oh, the 4 mana! Oh my god!
Oh, just imagine if he had been able to call that and Simon ended up discarding it. But wow, I mean, what a Tenpai pickup for Max.
Yeah.
Was able to find Tenpai and safely discard that 8 mon. And it's very important there that Max discard the 8 mon and not the 6 mon. It looks so much nicer to show the table your Suanko Tenpai, but there are no more draws. It doesn't matter. What matters is you safely reaching Gyukyoku. So well played by Max. We see an early call from Zilong of the South. That's double non, and no Dora just yet, but there is acceptance there. And Zilong here actually within range of stealing first away from Max. So speedy hand might be just the trick. We have Korak, our dealer, a little bit sloppy hand here. But there's a Dora, and where there's Dora, there's a chance. But the rest of the table speedy up now. Calls from Max for a Tanyao, it looks like. Although, if you looked at his hand, it's hard to tell. And then a call from Simon on the left. Atozuke for the north, which is once cut. Definitely going to be a little...
Atozuke always worth it for the north.
Yeah, I know Pei is your favorite honor tile. Oh,
that was a good draw for Korak.
Mm-hmm. Now there's a chance to build Ipeko, but this is Tenpai for Zilong here on the 3-pin, and that comes right out from Max. And so we'll deal in to the 2,000 point hand, and that will actually exchange places between Max and Zilong here. LPY falling to second place, but still within striking range as we find Zilong in his second dealership. 40,000 points now, and seeking more.
As we think about, because points here are always in respect to the overall standings, points mean almost nothing to Zilong at this point. Like, you would have to get almost 6 firsts to overtake Loose, which you don't, you can play for, but even as you're playing for it, you don't expect it to happen. Whereas Max, every single point is absolutely precious. I mean, the cut is at negative 75.5 right now, and Max is at negative 99.1. So Max wanting to prevent demotion, the difference between second and first is massive as far as he is concerned.
Absolutely. I mean, if the game were to end at this moment, Max would earn plus 13.1. But if Zilong drops to second, then Max is picking up an extra 10 points, plus 23.1, and that would bring him right up to that demotion line, right up to that cut line. So the difference between a
Within
second,
one full point.
exactly,
Yeah.
the difference between a second and a first here is massive, and it's actually willing to open up for a Toy Toy here on the right. That's Toy Toy Dora 3, Shanten. Would be the perfect hand to come back, especially if you can hit Zolong directly. Really secure your chance at getting first. Cannot accept that 7 pin, as the 789 is not conducive to a Toy Toy. Taking a look around the table, he needs a Tuso, which is held in Simon's hand currently. An 8-mon, which I can't actually see any of those currently. So both in the wall, and then the 9 pin has been picked up by Zolong here, but will not fit in hand, so we will see Tempai. Where is the 8-mon? How soon will they be drawn, and will they be incorporated? Simon can use one. Korak could use one as well. But Zolong cannot. So danger for Zolong is very far away from a Tempai here.
This is actually interesting. I wonder. The 7-mon would be for a 10. The 7-mon feels like a better weight than 8-mon, 2-mon to me. The only issue is that it's for a 10 because like Toy Toy Dora 3 is the same as.
Oh, the 2 comes out.
Oh, there it is.
Simon found an upgrade in shape, but that actually deals in. Yeah, and since we're not in the East round, Max needed the Toy Toy. And we'll... oh, look at this high pie.
Oh, and 31 is enough to put Yoshi out of demotion range.
Yeah, this score, if it ended right here, would be good enough. So Max just needs to hold off whatever Korak's doing across the table. Now, Korak is trying to get out of 4th here. So he is coming up with a way to make 3 Han. 3,900 will be enough to surpass Simon. And calls the West immediately because he has the 2 Dora in hand. So he just needs to complete the hand with the West and the 2 Doras. And he will get out of 4th. The other players around the table, Simon desperately trying to prevent that from happening. Any fast hand will be good enough. And Zolong kind of comfortable here in 2nd place. Obviously, you'd love to get first, but you don't need to do anything radical.
Yeah, I mean, Zolong could purposely deal in and get 4th 4 times consecutive and would still be fine. Like, Zolong's in that awkward position where there is practically no chance at first, but also no chance at demotion. Like, you hate to be in this position, like, ethically, because it's hard to know how you should play relative to the other players at the table, but, like, Zolong's play literally doesn't matter. Like, Zolong can't get first, Zolong can't demote, no matter what he does.
All right, well, this
you have a
poses...
Ricci from Simon.
Yeah, an interesting question. This is Ricci, potential Tanyao on the 6-so. The question is now posed to Max. How do you want to handle this? And his decision? Bail. I'm out of here. You can sumo Mongon. I'm totally fine with that.
Yeah, I mean, even after a Mongon sumo, Max would still be out of demotion, so this is pretty huge.
It just needs to find a path out of here. Doesn't necessarily have the best tiles, because his hand was coming together quite nicely.
You could almost Sashikomi and be fine. Like, you don't see any of the Dora 9-mon?
Are you willing to risk that, though? It's hard, especially because as long as you're not Tempai, you're going to get out of here fine. If you can make it to Ryukyoku, you'll be fine. So I'm sure Max will just be playing to bail as best he can, and hope that if he does deal in, it's not that high valued, because Simon doesn't have, the same incentive that Korak does to get a specific value. He just needs to win any hand.
The almost that I said was doing a lot of work.
Korak just drew Dora 3 and is now Ishanten. So that's a Mongon across the table. If If you could just
But
find
with
Tempai,
with 8 tiles left.
would need a Puln almost. Oh, that's a door. Well, I don't know if that can come out. Oh, the tiles just aren't coming. And
Yeah, this is gonna
Max just
be
needs to pass
exhaustive.
one more tile safely. 5. Okay, found it. And that is the end of this one. Simon will pick up the 3,000 points and retain the 3rd place, but it is Max, the big winner, plus 31.1 for his first place result. It's along a very nice second with plus 14.9. And I can't wait to see how the 3rd place and 4th place for Simon and Quark respectively affect the standings.
Yeah, I mean that's gonna put Max in 14th place. And then Simon and Korak are almost going to be the same. Yeah,
They are all
Max is 69. I bet he loves that. And then Simon at negative 40.8 and Korak at negative 35.8. So this last Hamchan just got even juicier as we have 12th, 13th, and 4th all next to each other.
all right. Well, I think they went right into the next game, so we'll boot that up and we'll see how things develop here. I mean, Max with a chance to overtake both of them with another strong finish. Now, Korak had some points to spare. Was out of the 3 who were below the below positive, below 0. Korak was in the best position, but definitely a little worrying to find yourself now in that group with Max and Simon all together. And looks like we have just about a minute before the game starts. Let's make our way there. All right, so the cut line still at 75.1. Max hoping for another decent positive result. I mean, same for all 3 of these. Just finish positive and see what happens in the final session. This is the final match between these 4 players. And we enter East 1 with Simon as our dealership. A dealer, Korak to the right, Max LPY across the table, and Zolong to the left. Simon starts out with the East pair and a door in hand, as well as all the blocks that you need to complete a hand, even considering the Otozuke call here with the 1 mon, but decides to hold off on this, and is rewarded with a 6-pin draw. And nice draws here for Simon, so really rewarded for the patience. To the right, we have Korak, who is building towards a Ricci Dora 1. There's a possible Pinhu if you draw really nicely.
Boom.
And there's the double East call for Simon. So now Dian Shanten looking for a pair. Hopefully you'd pair up the Dora. Across the table, there are now 5 pairs. So Ishanten for Tanyao Chitoi is Max. And then to the left, we have the Chun pair, which has yet to be discarded. And 1 Dora in hand. Oh, nice Kanchan fill. So that hand is now Ishanten for Ricci, potential Chun, and Dora 1. Our dealer still has yet to find a pair. Headless now, but able to call anything that comes out of Zolong's hand. And I wonder if Zolong considered holding off on that 1 mon, considering the delay the last time it was discarded. But probably likes holding on to this 8, so as a safe tile. And actually, Simon finds Tempai without drawing a pair, so we'll wait Dora Tonki, and oh no! Max draws a Dora, but that's actually not too bad if you're going for Chitoi. You can use that in your hand. If this was a normal hand, that'd be very likely to deal in. But Max is probably pretty pleased with that draw. Thinks, I can wait Dora Tonki for Ricci, Chitoi, Tanya, Dora 2. Instead, Simon ends up switching the weight to the 4-7. That might actually be more dangerous for Simon. And actually, the Dora will follow. So once the dealer has called twice and discards Dora, you know they're Tempai. And I expect we'll see some cautious play from around the table here. The 5-pin doesn't really fit into this hand, but doesn't want to discard it into what Simon's put together. So we'll hold on to it for the moment, and maybe it will come a little bit safer later. It comes out
The only tile left for Simon is that final 7-pin, in fact.
Oh yeah, the others are being held in hand. Ooh, do you build around the 7-9? You can drop Chun Chun. The 7-8 rather. There's a world where you could have found 6-7-8 Sanshoku. Decides that his best bet is to call the Chun here. And actually, Korak has drawn the Chun, is wondering, why haven't I seen any of these yet? I'm going to hold on to this till the end of time.
Where are the tunes?
The last 7-pin drawn by Max across the table, so it looks like Simon's hand is dead unless Max draws into Tempai somehow. If you draw the 3-pin,
Which is the only way that Max could draw into Tenpai.
then either the
Since all the
4...
4-pin and 7-pin are visible.
You're right. And I don't know, would you just push that?
Probably not. I mean, already discarded the 7, so like discarded out of Ishanten. So obviously Max is considering safety above Tenpai here.
Yeah. And does have the very 100% safe East to discard later. Simon reveals the 4-pin and gives another out to the other players. And will be the only player Tenpai will get a dealer repeat. Oh, hello. Dora none, but East pair, Haku pair, 2-mon Anko. The Dora fits into that 5-7. Simon.
There has to be a Japanese term for Dora, like a shape that accepts Dora, right? Like that feels like it should have its own special name, and we just don't use it.
I guess if there is a name, I'm sure maybe members of our audience have the best shot. I certainly don't know it. I'm curious to see how long this East hangs out in Max's hand, as that does not look like it's going anywhere fast.
I mean, it's weird because that's 8 distinct terminals and honors. If you had the 1-mon, it would be 9. Like, Yoshi just has a generally awful hand.
Yeah, and I think
whereas Zilong has the Anko and Hatsu.
I'm just as willing to call here and end this dealership. So we'll open up for presumably Hatsu Nomi. Just needs to fill in a couple blocks. Also, like, Zilong can see all these Mon tiles leaving Max's hand, and is probably concerned, especially with the 3-so cut, about a pin Honitsu, a Honitsu in the Dora suit. So he is willing to just end this and move us along, which is totally fine for Max. Max doesn't mind. Well, now the game is probably up.
Yeah, as it turns out, Max is just kind of hunting for some sort of Kanta, really.
Simon managed to fill the 2-3-4 shape in the so found Tenpai without drawing, calling the East, that is. Waiting on the Dora, but the wrong player is drawing them. Max drew 2 of them.
And Max having nothing doesn't really have a lot of incentive to discard Dora here.
Actually, Tushantan away, he redrew the 1-mon from the Kokshi, but has to drop Dora. It might be a little bit too late for that. Oh, we see a Ricci from Korak. Ricci, Tanyao, Pinfu. Waiting on the 3-6 so. And Simon, in the meantime, has swapped to the Shampoo weight 7-pin East, expecting that no one would discard the Dora. And he's right. Oh, the third Dora drawn by Max. It's like, Kokushi Dora 3? You can't do that.
Kokushi Dora 3.
Oh, that's a 6-so. It doesn't look great. We'll see if Simon pushes, and he does.
Yeah, your dealer.
Your dealer, you've got a chance at Yakuhai 3. But that will deal into just 3,900. No Ura there. And unfortunately, the 2-pin was not drawn in time to make the Ipeiko, so just the 3-Han hand for Korak. Who will accept that? End the dealership in first place. See what you can do on your own. Yeah, you think about making the Sohonitsu, except for the fact that you've got such nice shapes in the other suits. In fact, one fills right away in the Manzu.
Other people would think about it. I would not even consider it with this hand.
Well, okay, so you started with one complete set and 2 blocks and some honor tiles. So the second you pair up one of those honor tiles, you have enough shapes to go for it.
So, do you consider 4 blocks enough to go for Honitsu, or do you look for 5?
4 blocks and an honor. And even
And
if
a
it's
single
for,
honor or an honor block?
it could just be a single honor. But
Okay.
even for good blocks, because you can easily draw something in the future, at least to consider a Honitsu. You don't have to force it, right? You don't want to force it, but you can hedge the possibility of drawing into one.
Gorak actually playing for the Tanyao here with that 9-so discard.
Yeah, I can see it. It looks like there's a chance to, like, if you draw a door, you're really happy, but the hand on the right's faster. Ricci with a Nobetan on the Dora Suji, the 5-8 so. Ricci Nomi currently, a lot of the tiles that Max needs are held in hand already. In fact, one of each left in the wall. And the other players around, I mean, we've been talking about a lot Quark's hand. He finds Tenpai, and in fact, declares a chasing reach on just the 5-pin Kanchan. Wants to take this fight as dealer.
Well, and Simon has been Ishanten for quite a while, but actually discards the Shaw pair as safe tiles.
Yeah, Zulong as well has been close for a while. As actually Tenpai on the 1-4 pin. Not taking the Ricci though. Zulong probably concerned about drawing and discarding a Dora. Whereas if you Dama, you can accept the Dora into your hand.
Although the 2-so does not look particularly... I mean, I would not be willing to discard the 2-so.
It just got cleared, but I agree. It would,
right,
you would hesitate. Oh, there's the Tsumo on the Takame. Reached Tsumo Dora 2. No Ura 2 this time.
But Mangan is enough to put Max in first and drop everyone else below 30k.
All right, Max climbing again. This is exactly what he needed out of these last 2 games. If he can just hold on to this. Starts out with the south pair of the 6 as well. Reasonable shapes for a Ricci Dora 1. To the right along the backbone of an Itsu in the Pinzu, but blocks in the other 2 suits as well. So not, despite all of the pin tiles, doesn't have to be a Chinitsu or Honitsu or anything like that. Across the table, there are 3 pairs. Not much else going on there. Maybe some Tanyao shapes. We'll see if Simon moves that direction. There is door acceptance as well, as long as you hold on to this floating 7-mon. On the left, Korak suffering a little bit after eating the Oyakaburi there, but still in second place and has some okay shapes. 2 Diankans does not really spark joy, but it's better than some other hands could be. And there's one of them immediately filled, so that's nice.
Each.
Oh, okay, this is nicer. Just take your Ricci Pinfu, Dora 1.
Chi.
So Simon will break the Ipatsu. And I'm not sure if how much Simon actually wants to fight for this. The 4 and 6 pin were kind of difficult to discard as save tiles, and so you're not really losing too much immediately from that call, but it's so early on. It was just a second row Ricci that you have a lot of game yet to bail. There's a lot that can happen between that call and redrawing the 4 kind of hurts a little bit. This is Tenpai for Korak. Will not take the Ricci here, but it's a Dama on the Dora indicator. For Tanyao only. This is a better reach, 3-sided, but do you really want to drop the Dora indicator? Does not. Wise for that decision as well. Would deal in.
What, you mean you don't think Long Suji's safe here?
No, I do not. Nobitan as well. 6 pin is safe, and that will come out.
Well, now... let's see. Is there a realistic shot at Sanshoku for Korak? Like, what would have to fall into place for you to get the 3-4-5?
I guess you'd have to draw something like the 5 or 8 so, and then discard the 2 so, and then sumo on the 7. You're not. I don't think you're ever discarding it here. Oh, this could be another route. So now he can redraw into the 1/4, and there's the 1. So now you're Tenpai again for the Sancho. Oh, doesn't want it. Is not willing to push the 6.
He tip back.
I mean, he can see 3. How many of the 7s? 1, 2, 3. 3 of the 7s and 3 of the 4s. So the 6 is okay. Oh, all of the 7s and 3 of the 4s. So it's like 1 chance. But
Yeah.
I mean, it could deal into Champon and, like, say there's a door Champon. That'd be terrible. In fact, Max does have a pair of 6 so in hand. Korak finds his safest tile, discards it. Oh, that's Tenpai? That's Tenpai. Do you drop the 5 or 6? Is this a Tenpai moment? It is. Simon feels the 6 is safe enough, and it was, in this case. Simon even saw, oh, the 4 so did come out eventually from Korak, so he saw the same number of tiles that Korak did. And well played to find the extra 1500. Max, though, with the double east again. And the tune. Oh, and another sweet draw.
Oh, man.
These hands, these are coming together. Now, Zolong has the Haku pair to the right and also Ishanten with Adora. You want to draw the 1 pin before you fill the 9-8 Penchan. Get the Chanta as well. Yeah, across the table. This looks a little bit more standard with the 2 Doras. Very nice. Richie Dora 2 likely. And to the left, Korak got Tanyao shapes. Another Onko here. Discards the 1 safe tile. I guess.
Yeah, that feels right.
Korak is north and is wondering, why haven't the north come out yet? They're probably in the wall. Maybe I could think about like going for a Sananko pay hand. Besides just to play normally here. The north was in the wall, but they're starting to get discarded.
I mean, Korak, I have found, is going to play normally always. The only time Korak's hand is going to look abnormal is if his high pie looks abnormal. Like you're not going to see him arbitrarily hold on to something like a Northwind. Oh, we have Tenpai now for Yoshi, 4-pin east.
Now, Zolong has also been Tenpai for a couple turns here, but doesn't like this Richi Nomi on just the 7 pins, so is holding out for something a little better. Would be a shame to draw the 1 pin.
Hadagiri Richi.
Yeah, it's late enough, decides to put pressure on the table. Oh, but Max just sumos. The Richi stick donation. Takamade sumo at that. 26 all for the 3 and 40 hand, and Max just keeps climbing. At this rate, he is going to surpass both.
Oh yeah, he can absolutely pass both Korak and Simon here. It feels wrong to
It does, doesn't it?
Arthur. It feels dirty. I remember, like, I had told my partner stories about Korak before she had ever watched a stream, and the first time she watched Korak and I stream together, she was like, Korak's name is Arthur? That can't be right. And it was very funny to hear her say that.
Once you hear somebody, once you have called somebody by something for so long, any other name just sounds weird.
Absolutely.
I've seen Korak so much in the Mahjong community just by the handle, and played against him in tournaments and online, and it was a long time before I found out his real name, so I'm so used to Korak. In the meantime, Max here, LPY. Max also is a little bit weird because, again, another player who is extremely well known in the Mahjong community by his Tenho handle, but has been Ishan-ten for a while, will not be the first to Tenpai.
Although it seems like he really should be. I mean, with only 2 Tadashi on turn 7, it feels kind of wrong to not be the first to Tenpai. This is a 5-8 Tenpai for Simon, so a good weight, but it is Rishinomi.
Yeah. And Max called to break the Ipatu and shift to Tanyao here. Ishanten for that. It's just a little bit difficult to get those tiles, except for the fact that the 3 was the Riichi tile and the 6 been followed. So if Korak is playing safe, you'd expect that to come out. Unfortunately, Korak just hasn't drawn any of those, because Korak is definitely folding.
This is another really interesting thing about A1, especially that, I mean, at this table, I don't know near as much about Zilong and Simon as I do about Korak and Yoshi, but Yoshi and Korak, I know for certain, have played each other a ton.
Mm-hmm.
So Yoshi almost has an advantage with Korak on his left. It's like, well, I know if Korak is playing a certain way, I know exactly what he's doing because I've seen him play so much.
Mm-hmm. And Max is starting to bail out of this hand. Wants to just take this lead home. Korak needs to find... Has the 9 pins, which are Dora, Suji, you have the Anko. So it really only deals into Dora Tonki.
Yeah,
but
I mean,
Korak is
so
like a
safer.
Korak is a Dora Tonki aficionado, so I'm sure he's thinking it probably doesn't deal in, but there's a non-zero chance that it does.
And that's something that I think a lot of players can learn from. I think one of the biggest mistakes that gets made at intermediate to lower advanced levels. Oh, there's the sumo!
Tiles are running thin. That was one of the last ones. Just the 2 Han, but that will definitely increase the second place gap for Simon.
And it's only East 4. Just to conclude my thought from before, so it's not left totally on a cliffhanger. I feel like one of the biggest mistakes that's made at intermediate levels and the very early advanced levels is playing just kind of halfway towards whatever you're doing. Like, if you're gonna fold, you might as well fold all the way. If you're gonna push, you might as well push all the way. If you are in your head saying I'm folding, and then you draw a tile and you push something that's half safe, half not, you're often gonna get yourself in danger. Like, you need to know exactly what you're doing at all times. Otherwise, it is very easy to get yourself into trouble.
Yeah, that's something that I noticed out of my own play in the inaugural Beta League. There were several hands that I had regrets about, and the majority of them were hands where I had made one decision and then drew a tile. I was like, wait a second, this is good enough for me to change my mind, and I would inevitably deal in to a big hand. It's like, trust your decision earlier, and just play it through to the conclusion, and you're probably going to be making the right choice. So long here.
Yeah, and I'm sure that's something that all players who have played like any substantial amount of mahjong would be able to relate to, and something that if you have not played a substantial amount of mahjong, you can learn from, hopefully without doing it yourself. But we do see Zilong here with a very good 2 Shanten for a Toy. You know, you call pawn on something, or you draw an Anko, and then you discard probably either 2 mon or 3 mon, so that you have the more complex, better efficient shape.
Yeah.
Each.
Oh, unfortunately, Mochi Mochi on the hot tip, but there's a Riichi across the table. Korak with the Riichi Dora 1, waiting on the 8 pin. And maybe a tack on one note to our previous conversation. This isn't to say that Mawashi is bad, but you should be planning for that, right? I am doing this in order to, and I'll pick these tiles to push with and pick these tiles to bail on, and have a plan for what you're doing. There's the sumo. That's a very nice Kanchan pull. 3 Han is enough to barely take second place.
By 100 points.
Yeah, this kind of goes to the idea of whatever you do, make sure you have a plan. And if you're waffling back and forth between 2 different plans, that means you're probably not that certain about your plan in the first place.
Yeah, playing with purpose is so important. God, what do you do with this hand if you're Simon? Like, you look at it and you say, "Oh, this hand looks fine." And then the more you look at it, the worse it gets. Like the 2, 5, 8, 8, 9 Mon shape feels so much better than it actually is.
Like you spent 4 turns discarding your honors, and you're still left with only 4 blocks and some okay floaters, and you don't like have a Tanyao, you don't have a clear Pinfu. You're just kind of wondering, will that 3 mon help solidify things a little bit, so you can slim down some of these floating shapes.
You at least have a 5th block. But I mean, but no one has very concrete blocks. I mean,
No,
Korak has an Anko of the one so and a couple Ryanmen, but not much else. And then
Max has the 789 Sanchoku or 678 Sanchoku possibility, but has all the 7-8 side of things. Doesn't know whether it's going to be a 6 or 9 yet. And then the penchant of 1-2 is a little
Boom.
awkward. Now that you've drawn the north pair, your blocks are actually very solidified at this point. Yamen.
did Zilong deny the Chunpong?
I
Or was the second tune drawn after Yoshi discarded the
I think
the first
Zilong has
tune?
had this tune for a couple discards. I don't know if it was there when the first tune came out. I do know in the past, Zilong does not like to take early Yakuhai calls. So I
Yeah,
would suspect he had it and passed it.
I would not have opened this hand either. Like it when you have no other complete shapes and no other value, opening feels really bad. Now though, Zilong is each on 10 for Chitoy. 5 pairs.
Yeah, and speaking about opening, we see a classic Max play across the table calling the 6-0. The only Yaku here is the 678 Sanshoku, so it needs exactly the 6 pin, which he draws, and now exactly the 6 mon, and you can't draw into Furi 10 because all of the 9 mon have been discarded. So this is actually kind of working out. Korak also
Well,
Tempai, but Yaku is
yeah.
here. Does declare the Richi when there's a Suji trap.
Although Suji Trap on the Ricci tile, which every league you go up
Boom.
in ARML. Oh my god, but the 7 bot comes out of Zilong's hand! I really did not expect that.
Well, look at the discards. It wasn't just a Suji Trap Richi, it was a 5-mon, 4-mon discard. So you're not expecting that to come out just to set up a Suji Trap, right? You'd rather have the Yamen wait. So it makes a lot of sense that Suji Trap works better than a normal Richi Suji does. And Zilong had found Tempai for the Chitoy, decided 7-mon was worth pushing, which I cannot blame him for. They did feel fairly safe.
Especially knowing that Korak is not particularly fond of Chitoy, of 7 pairs.
Yeah, that was a Ricci and then a win on a Tonki weight, which is quite nice.
Ooh, do you toss the 9 pin here, or do you toss a 2-so?
Tuso comes out first, and Korak's thinking, can I make a 5-6-7 Sanshoku here? Maybe I can shift this down to 4-5-6. There's my 7. All right, 5-6-7 Sanshoku it is.
And Korak also looks for Itsu a little bit more than the average player, I feel.
So retaining that 9 pin a little bit, just in case. The hand to the right, I think, is already Ishanten for Pinfu. It is. So Max aiming to just kill this dealer hand.
And Zilong just Katagiri'd the 3-mon, which again we were talking about. How would Korak talk about a hand? And we've heard a lot Korak talk about this idea of, you know, if you draw a tile, you kind of instantly Katagiring it being a habit that intermediate players develop that is not actually as good as it seems. Like sometimes you are giving away information that is hurtful to you, but I don't think it either hurts or helps Zilong in this case. I just don't think it matters at all. We do have the Ricci here from Yoshi.
Yeah, Ricci, Pinfu, Dora 1 did draw the Dora for the Tempai, which was definitely useful because we were saying earlier, Max needs all the points.
There's only 1 tile left in this 3-mon, 6-mon wait, though.
Yeah.
For Max to draw out of the wall, so someone needs to deal in, realistically.
Well, 1 tile is enough. We have seen that over and over and over again in this league. But yeah, realistically, it's fairly low odds. But the other players gonna have a tough time pushing here. I mean, Simon holding 3 of the winning tiles is Ishanten. Oh, there it is. Yeah, just simple. 1 tile doesn't matter.
You only need one.
Max finds it. No Uda for the Mongon, but can you complain?
I mean, that drops Korak 100 below 30k.
So that actually increases Max's score by an extra 5,000 if he can keep Korak and everyone else below 30,000. It is Max's dealership here. Not a bad high pie. Another pair up. So an Anko and 3 pairs. Maybe we're going to end up going vertical this hand, of course, if you draw the 2 or 5 pin. You can also think about Ipeco. To the right, there are...
Can you define vertical
Sure.
for us?
Vertical meaning drawing Ankos that, like the 8 so Anko. If you draw another 4 pin, 3 pin, you're starting to think about like Toy Toy, as opposed to sequences, which are like horizontal. There's a player who, in my own club, actually does literally play vertically. If he has tiles that match, he will stack them on top of each other. It does make his hand pretty obvious, but so you know when he's going for Toy Toy. But every now and then he'll do it just to better visualize his Ishantens. It also makes it pretty easy to tell when he's Ishantens. So I do not recommend this if you're playing, but it is quite amusing. And Max did draw the 2 pins, so it looks like it will just be a Tanyao perhaps.
Chi.
Tanyao, Pinfu maybe Ipeco. We see a Chi to the left, and I wonder if Korak's thinking about turning this into a Honitsu. You'd hope to either draw a pair up the east or draw more Manzu before calling the tune and having to make that choice.
Yeah, draws another 5, so it does just toss it back. Does not even think about it.
Yeah, I mean, if you draw the 4, now's... Yeah, we'll just hedge with the east, and I don't think we're doing the Honitsu thing. Korak just needs to make it over 30k, so 1,000 points is good enough for that goal. And it's a little bit too late to start shifting this to Honitsu now. I think if Korak had paired up the east or drawn something that didn't improve Shanten, but helped towards a Honitsu, he probably would have gone that route. As it is, this is Tempai on the 1-mon and 5-mon for the Champon weight. 1-mon locked away in Simon's hand. I shouldn't say locked away. There is a chance that Simon ends up shifting, but ooh, that 5-mon draw does not fit.
But the one so comes out first.
Yeah, it is unfortunate that Korak's hand looks like Honitsu.
And that 3-mon draw really signified the Tempai. But we do have Ricci now for Yoshi. This is Tanyao Ipeco waiting on 4-so 6-mon. No Pinfu, but Tanyao Ipeco is more than enough.
Oh, there comes the
and there's the 1-mon into Korak.
Yeah, it's funny. If Max waited, he would have Chitoy on any tile that doesn't match one of the tiles he already has. But chooses to reach that instead. Kind of almost baits Simon into discarding that. I think there's probably a partial Kabe on the lower Manzu.
Zalong now in the only position in South 4 that doesn't feel like... Well, I guess... South 4 just always feels so dangerous, but Zalong in a pretty deep last. I mean, you're over 12,000 away from 3rd place. Like, in any other position, you're like, if anyone sumos, I can lose a spot. But Zalong kind of has the freedom of, I'm in last, I can do whatever I need to do.
Right.
Nothing is going to stop Zalong from chasing the hand that Zalong needs to chase.
And even if you lose catastrophically, you deal into a Yakuban, it doesn't matter in the overall standings. You fight for what you can as much as you can in this position because Zalong has the room to do so. Now Simon, on the other hand, a little bit less space. We'll take the Ricci for value here. Would love to make it over 30k, get a positive finish here. This is just Ricci Pinfu, but Ipatsu Tsumura. Make it a Mangon. Max pretty comfortably in first, but wants Korak to fall. And oh, there's a chase!
Oh, that's fantastic on the 9-mon and the shot.
Dora. Quark's got the value to chase with, and Simon's in trouble. Cannot use the Sha would deal into Mongon. There's a 3 that would deal into Simon. That's almost a Sashikomi. Richie Pinfu. Just 2 Han. That's not enough to move Simon over the 30k. Korak also saved from dealing in and falling below 30,000, but unfortunately missing out on a monster. You look at the Uda indicator and you feel a little sad. That was my winning tile.
Why was the West there? There's only 14 tiles. Why couldn't it have been in the wall? But Yoshi with the plus 35.6. Yoshi started his 18th Hanchan in the demotion range and is now like, I mean, by no means safe. Like 4 last place will always get you into demotion typically.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, Yoshi has to be feeling really good.
Oh,
About this
absolutely.
negative 33.4.
Look, you were at negative 99, I believe, and now you're at negative
Yes.
33. You've picked up over 60 points. You've swapped well out of the demotion range. I mean, you're still in danger. You can't have a bad 4th session, but your position is so much more comfortable than when you were heading into these matches. So Max is absolutely over the moon. And Korak at negative 29.9, not as good as being minus 3, but still fairly safe compared to the other
has
2.
lost a little bit of position.
Back, nerves probably picking up a little bit, but it's not the worst spot to be in. Simon is the one who probably got hurt the most out of this session, now at negative 47.9, inching ever closer to that demotion zone, but still, like, there is a 28-point gap between Simon and the cutoff line. So you've got a little bit of breathing room, but you're definitely feeling a little anxious moving into the 6th and final session. With the other player, DeLong here, in 3rd place now, drops out of 2nd. This pretty much confirms, I mean, it was confirmed for a while. It was going to be very difficult for Luz to not become 1st overall, but DeLong really needed like a plus 80 or plus 100 or something like that in 2 games to get close, and then hope that Luz faltered at the end. But at this point, eating this 4th place and kind of staying where he started, unlikely to catch Luz. So Steve temporarily claiming the 2nd place in the standings.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen a couple of players take last place in an entire session. I mean, Haru just did it, unfortunately. Like, she got no tiles, and there was a lot of flow going against her in session 5 in A2. But even still, she's basically guaranteed a promotion slot. But even with 4 last place, I mean, Luz is so solid that it doesn't matter. And we've never seen, I think, Luz take more than 1 last place in a single session. Like,
I mean, Luz this season has been absolutely dominant. It's been so fun to watch. Not so fun being on the other end of the table, but definitely as a spectator, it's been just an absolute pleasure to watch because it's been very strong play, and it's so fun to see somebody dominating over and over again. You kind of know what to expect. Strong play getting rewarded. And
Max is joking in the chat about such a low win rate, the 16.6. It's worth mentioning, though, Max has by far the highest average win with 6,700. Like, even though he only has a 1.3% difference between win rate and deal in, the fact that he has a 1,600 point difference between average win and average deal is what is like the big difference that's kept him out of the current demotion spots. Like, he's not out of demotion range entirely. Like, a bad 4th session would obviously put him into demotion, but even with such a tight win rate deal in margin, the fact that he's winning the right hands and dealing into not as big of hands as he's winning is pushing him towards not demoting.
Yeah. Well, I have a question for you, Tucker. So
Uh-oh.
those two games were so fun to watch. I see there's another game going on right now. How do you feel about swapping over to an A2 match?
I'm totally in. Like I would love to see some A2 action.
All right, I've got the game.
I'm so anxious about everything going on in A2. Like I'm being an A2 or A1 are both a great accomplishment, and even if I don't end up promoting, I'll still be happy with myself as a human. But God, I've been in third place all season, and all of a sudden everybody's winning,
I
and
mean,
now I'm in
it
fifth
was a
place.
pretty secure third place because I mean, the cutoff line was at basically zero. But now
I,
things have drastically changed as I
I
attempt to.
in session 5, I took 3 seconds that were every single one of them negative.
Well, that's
In all 4 of the Hanchan in my session 5, only one person was above 30K.
that is
And it was usually Philip.
well, we can't see Philip currently because I haven't changed the names yet. I'll go ahead and do so now, but the stream's going to get a little bit laggy, so bear with me. Who is playing currently?
All right, so right now we have Matthew, who is a very strong player, who's been unfortunately kind of stranded in the middle for most of the season. Huang, who of course everyone knows as the league champion, who took about a plus 200 in session 6 a couple seasons ago to go from not league champion to the absolute dominant league champion. We have Rachel, who is a very volatile player, has massive games, but also can have massive negatives, goes back and forth. A very good player, just aggressive, which, I only talk about the way I do because I'm a coward. And then Tristan, who is another aggressive player, but who is not as consistently good at converting those massive wins as Rachel is, but is still very much capable of running a table when necessary.
It looks like at this current stage in South 1, we are on Matthew's deal. Not no one's really running away. We do see Gimmick to the right, Huang, who has 40,000 points. Is the only player above 30,000. Are we going to have another one of those tables, I wonder? But Aishan Town actually to the right for Ricci Pinfu Dora 1. Across the table, there's Dora 2 as well, and Ipeco Chance. On the left, Ipeco Chance and Pinfu as well. Wants to make use of the 2 so Dora, but needs to draw the 3 so in order to do that. And takes the Kanchan Ricci. Interesting. Doesn't want the Pinfu here.
Yeah, had the option at the Pinfu, but denies it to keep the Dora. I mean, it is kind of a 1-for-1. Like, if you discard Dora, you get 1 Han waiting on 3 so, 6 so. And if you keep the 2 so, you get 1 Han waiting on Dora. Although it does increase your food. A sumo especially right now would be 40 fu. Whereas if you had kept the 5 so, it would only be 20 fu.
Right,
So it
30 fu for
essentially
it, so-
doubles the value of your hand.
Oh, we see a chase from Matthew. This is a much better weight. How do you like this?
The 3-pin, 6-pin Nobetan?
7 as well. 3, 6, 7.
Oh, because the 8,
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, another chase. Rachel, third person in.
Chase!
Not surprised to see this move. And it is a
Oh,
nice
of
hand
course
as
not.
well. Ricci, Dora 2. Oh, but the 7 will deal in. So
Yes.
Matthew is going to grab all of those sticks with a Ricci Udop 1. That's actually going to climb him all the way up to 34,000.
Yeah, that's huge. And like this is the thing that's interesting about as someone who has played against Rachel multiple times, but only ever in league, never in tournament play. Like Rachel will deal into these hands, but it's almost like it doesn't matter. Like Rachel just went from basically second to fourth. But I mean, I would still be horrified that Rachel's going to create one hand that puts her in first.
Yeah, I
Like,
mean, it just takes one
she
Mongon.
is so good at pushing. Yeah.
And this hand has potential for Rachel. And it should be noted, it's not like Rachel's deal-in was a bad play at all. In fact,
Oh no.
Ricci Dora
not at
2
all.
is against 2 people who can't defend against you. Sure.
When I when I talk about Rachel being someone who pushes a lot, like I sound like I'm talking about her as a bad player because I am a coward. I
There's a
hate
bit
it.
of
I hate
jealousy in your
pushing.
voice. It's like,
Right,
man, I wish I could
exactly.
do that too.
Yeah. Rachel is very, very good at choosing the right times. That's why she is where she is. Like she is very, 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 very good at being aggressive. And that is why she is where she is. When she is successful, she's better than anyone. And when
I
she's unsuccessful, she can come in the middle, like never in last.
I I know we're getting a little bit away from the game, and there's a lot of interesting things that are happening, but I just have to. Oh wow, Dora pair up. Okay, this Ishan 10 for Rachel is insane,
This is
but
what she does. This is it. This is the
there's
thing.
456
There's even a
Sanchoku here too.
456 Sancho
Like this is Hanuman
Yeah.
chance. But I have to recount my first experience playing against Rachel was in an online tournament, and I didn't actually know it was Rachel until afterwards. People were saying, "Yeah, this is what she does," because she finished with I think over 100,000 points that game,
My
and I was like,
God.
"Okay, she just wins every hand. No matter what I do, it's not good enough." And yeah, that was my first experience playing Rachel. It was like eye-opening moment. It's like, okay, so this is what true aggression is like.
Yeah. Rachel is a certified mahjong monster.
As are several of the other players at this table.
God, Huang, like I've played Huang before in log reviews, and there have been hands where he has said, "No, you discard this," and I'm like, "You're insane. Why would you ever do that?" But he's right.
But it works, doesn't
That's
it?
where the value comes from. It works, but
Speaking of
it's beyond my comprehension. He is very good at creating value as well. He's just not quite as pushy as Rachel, but he's close.
oh, I mean, he's
and
fairly
the
pushy too. And oh, we're gonna see a deal-in on the Ipatsu.
Oh, there it is.
Ricci with the double south as well. And Rachel did get the Sanshoku too, but it was a turn too late.
Forgive it.
Oh my goodness. Well, Hanuman versus Hanuman, and it's the first Ricci that pulls it out. The advantage
Matthew's
of
just over here like, okay, if you say so. Like, I'm still in second. This is fine.
Gimmick's taking the advantage of being the first person to the right of the dealer instead of the second person. And we go into South 2.
Boom.
Wong here with the Hatsu call. Dora in
And
hand.
Adora.
234 Sanshoku, technically possible. Even more possible now that the 6-pin is the pair.
Yeah, tosses the 7-so, which you would expect here.
Rachel, lots of pairs and an Anko. 3 pairs and the Anko. As well as a Dora in hand. Across the way, Tristan. That looks like a fairly standard hand. Awkward 8-9 so Penchon. To the left, Matthew with more pairs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay.
5.
Could be Chitoy.
Yeah, I feel like you have to keep the South now. Yeah, tosses the 9-so instead.
Another pair for Rachel. This is Tempai for Chitoy.
リーチ
Does declare the Ricci on the Dora, so we'll have Mongon minimum for Rachel.
Here's a non-joke question for you, Nathaniel. Since we cast last night with Dustin, who I think prays to the Sanso every night before bed. How do you feel about the Sanso?
I am no Sanzo fanatic. I did not realize the Sanzo was a thing until I hung out on the Discord a little bit more and realized that people actually think about things like this. Here, I think the Sanzo is a great weight because it's the Dora, but outside of that, I don't think there's any other reason to wait on it.
And that is perfectly fair. How likely do you think Huang is to push against this?
Honestly, I could see Huang pushing with 3 Han, especially if he sees the 4. Like, that was the Ricci tile from Rachel, and Huang's got a pretty nice lead here. I have the feeling he wants to just keep pressing his advantage. He just has
Yeah,
to
that
pass
one-
one tile.
I mean, that one pin was by no means safe in its own right. Like,
Yeah, it was
that
only
one pin was a dangerous tile, and this is Tenpai for Huang.
not the max value, but he's still willing to push this. Now,
Although this
If he
This does
draws
have the detriment of you can't chi the Forso anymore.
right, we see a chase from Tristan who wants to get in on the action here with Ricci Nomi. Shampoo wait on the 3-mon 9-so. 9-so's dead, so it's really just the 3-mon. 1 3-mon left in the wall. And yeah, I don't think Gimmick is stopping unless the door is drawn. And even then, that might not be enough of the Suji. Of course, when you see the Ricci tiles, the 4, you might think about like a 1-2-4 shape. Where it doesn't matter if you discard the 1 or the 4. A lot of times we'll have discarded the 1 so already, but if you look around the table, we can't actually see any.
Oh,
no.
3.
Yeah, that was the worst possible draw for Tristan there. No Uda, so just the Mongon, but I say just a Mongon when Rachel has now taken 3rd place away.
Yeah, that does trade positions. Although only a 2,000 point gap, normally you'd be like, okay, we're still neck and neck, but that never feels safe against someone like Rachel. But that's how A1 is, like, or A2
even, yeah.
Like, yeah, this is A2, but I mean, every single person in A2 is dangerous for a different region. Some of them are dangerous because they could win massive hands. Some of them are dangerous because they push. Is this already a Chitoy Tenpai for Gimmick? Jesus Christ.
Drop the 3-mon now. And then
call waiting on 2-pin.
Pon.
I would have called Ricci, absolutely.
This is gonna be Toy Toy Honitsu.
You think so?
I think so. Unless Tristan discards or Rachel even discards the 2-pin first.
Rachel has skipped.
Oh, he skipped it. Okay, all right, never mind. It's just a Chitoy.
Oh, there it is! Oh my god!
That is too fast. I wanted to see the 8-pin pull.
Tristan with the final dealership here.
This is your chance. You gotta do something here.
Oh man.
And
this is what I love so much about the ARML. One of my favorite parts of the mid-season show. I remember Korak saying specifically the line that like, "Hey, I don't think anyone realized how deep the United States is in Mahjong, despite the fact that we've been talking for a while. But like once you see A1 and A2, you're like, shit." I wouldn't want to be in either of these divisions.
Right?
They're both horrifying.
Every table you can come up with has at least one amazingly scary player, like someone you absolutely do not want to face.
My first session in A2 this season had both Ada and Rachel at it, who are both like amazing aggressive players, and I was like, oh my god, this is not good.
Oh goodness. Well, Tristan.
And we see that coming into play. We across the table, even Huang. Like again, we have this amazing hand that can be opened for the South.
It's spoiled for choice. It could be Tanya. It could be South. It could be a Pifu. It has the door too. It could be Peiko. It could just be so many things. And I guess you just call this, right? Yeah, I mean, you're choosing which Yamen to discard, right? Do you want to drop the 5-6-so, 4-5 pin, 6-7 mon?
I tend to discard 4-5 pin here, both because it's more dangerous and because 3-pin, 6-pin is a slightly worse weight than 5-mon, 8-mon.
Yeah,
in general.
You're also looking at the player to your left and thinking, what can I call? The other thing I think Huang noticed was that he can see 3 of the 6-so, so 7's a little bit difficult to use. And did it apply to the 4 instead, but that is applying the 3-6. You're also counting how many tries have already been discarded. There's a 2. Okay.
Oh, and there's the sumo!
Chi tsumo. Pon chi tsumo. That's all it takes.
It's not enough to drop Matthew beneath 30k, but unless I'm much mistaken, that should be enough to bring Huang into promotion, shouldn't it?
I think you're right. Yep.
Plus 44.1. That bastard!
Will knock you down, won't it? But you're still well within range, Tucker. Don't worry.
Yeah, I'm close. It's just always like, oh no, why do you do that? But wow, such a good game.
And there are still a couple tables yet to play in A2. So even more chances for people to surpass you, Ennui. Garrick
Yeah.
has a chance.
Why'd you have to say it like that?
Oliver has 4 games to play. Dustin as well. Both of them could pass you up. Of course, things could go the other way as well. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
And
A2 has had a lot of scheduling troubles just because, again, and this is something we talked about before the broadcast, like everyone is so busy in the fall. Like every job someone could have, it just seems like the fall is the busiest season. For some places it's the end of their fiscal year, for some places it's the beginning. For a lot of people who work in education, which is not unrare among mahjong players, like both you and I work in
Exactly.
education. It's when school gets started, it's when the first semester ends.
For me,
Like,
it's when finals are about to hit.
oh right, like right now
Right?
specifically.
Yeah, it is. It's. I don't know. The fall does seem to be a little bit more difficult, but I mean, props to all the players. They've been doing such a good job of scheduling
Oh
in
yeah.
advance, if possible. The admins have been really flexible as well and assisting and coordinating that. And for the most part, it's been quite strong. We haven't had really any issues, and I'm sure those players will get their four games in. It might even be scheduled already. Who knows? We might even be broadcasting those in the near future. But yeah, A2 has been such a fun division to watch. Standings wise, it's been confusing, and now things are starting to look a little bit more normal. But you can tell that the race for the cutoff for promotion there is going to be so exciting going to the 6th session.
Oh, I'm so desperately sad about that.
You're hoping to just coast your way.
This is legitimately the first time I haven't been in the top 5 the entire season. Like,
Yeah, well, you and I both are suffering from the same problem, which is you can't just hope that other people do your work for you. You have to you have to take control of it yourself. And for you, it's fighting your way to get into the promotion zone. For me, it's fighting my way out of the demotion zone. But we both will have some work ahead of us.
oh, for sure. But it's all been very good mahjong. Like, especially from the commentator perspective. That's one of the things I love about commentating. You have such a different view of the game as a commentator. Because when you're a commentator, you want people to win. You want everyone to win. And you want to see good hands, you want to see wild shenanigans. When you're a
Absolutely.
player, you're like, why did a Hanuman Tonki wait sumo when I had a 3-sided like Tuhan?
Yeah,
Like,
right.
this doesn't make sense. But that's one of those things that as you grow more mature in mahjong, you get used to that I have not gotten used to yet. I am by no means there.
We're working on it. The longer we stay in the ARML, the more and more we'll get used to it.
And that being said, like if you yourself are watching these games and listening to us commentate and you want to improve your own play, I mean, there's no place better than this intense, competitive, dedicated scene than the ARML. Like, ladder's kind of wacky because you're always running into random people from all around the world to, especially like, there's nothing wrong with it at all, right? But
Hmm.
like when you're playing during, like on Mahjong Seoul, when you're playing during the hours that a lot of Chinese players play, well, most of them originally learned Mahjong on Hong Kong mahjong, which doesn't have Ricci, doesn't have Furitin, so calling is a lot more prevalent, and they would obviously murder you at any sort of Hong Kong mahjong, but in Ricci, you're just like, why are all these pawn counts demolishing me? And it's because they've been playing mahjong for years and years and years, just a different mahjong. And they're very good at playing that mahjong, and you have to learn how to adapt to it. And the ARML is another competitive scene that's so specific to Ricci. Like, these are all different places where you can get exposed to different techniques, different meta. And if you want to join that, we're open until December 19th for the next season, which will be the start of the next year of ARML Mahjong.
Hmm.
So be sure to visit our webpage at americanricci.org,
Yeah, I was gonna say
which you'll
it's
find in the Twitch chat as well here in a second.
Yeah, scrolling on the bottom, signups for the winter season up till December 19th, which is okay. It's coming up. It's less than 2 weeks away. So if you're thinking about it, if you're on the fence, make sure to make that decision before the 19th. And the website is on the screen as well, AmericanRicci.org. You can always follow us on Twitter at American Ricci. We usually post announcements when we go live for broadcasts such as this one. And if you'd like to watch any of our previous broadcasts, we have so many of them on
Oh, it's incredible.
and there are some really thrilling series that we have posted on our YouTube page, tinyurl.com/ARMLYT. We're getting up to the 6th session. Today is Thursday, and the next session starts on Monday. So the final session is always the most exciting. The incentives are wild. Everyone knows exactly what they need to do in order to get into the promotion zone, get out of the demotion zone, stay where they are. And it causes some wild things to happen in the games. I know there was an absolutely thrilling final table at the end of last season that is somewhere on our YouTube page that was just incredible and an amazing showcase of what the end of season incentives can cause to happen in a game of Mahjong. And that's coming up. Starting next week, we will have all of that thrilling final session Mahjong. And I hope we can cover as much of it as possible. I know we'll certainly do our best to bring that to you. Any final thoughts, Tucker?
I mean, as Nathaniel has said, keep with us, follow through. Again, that YouTube page, like, I remember I started playing Mahjong during the Thanksgiving of the first year of COVID in 2020. And I had no guidance. My only guidance was asking strangers on Reddit and Mahjong and like Discord, hey, what would you do in this specific situation, and having them roast me. But now with the ARML having this YouTube, we have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours of solid Mahjong commentary. And I'm not talking about my commentary. I just shout and fall out of my chair and it's fun. But like Nathaniel gives great advice, Korak gives great advice, Yoshi, Steve, Andrew, everybody who joins on to this commentary team is so good, and you get so much out of what they say. Like, if you want to improve your Mahjong game, there has never been a better time to be an English speaking Mahjong player than right now. Like, follow that YouTube channel, subscribe to it, watch past broadcasts, learn from it, and like what Edwin has built here at the ARML is beyond description. Like, there is so much you can gain from both being a part of it and just from spectating. So take advantage of that and join in. That's my final thought as we move into this exciting season 6, where you're gonna hear a lot of ennui shouts as we close out the season.
Well, I'm certainly looking forward to it. So, for Ennui, this is Nathaniel thanking you for watching and looking forward to seeing you in our next broadcast. Have a good one, everybody.